Welcome back to the Joseph Graham Show. Today I'm super excited. I have my friend Henry D. Sims on. Now, gonna give you a little secret. I very rarely join masterminds or groups, but I've been in Henry's group. It's called the Distillery, or Sims Distillery, sorry. And it was one of the ones that I met so many really cool, amazing people. Actually, I met Henry in that group. But Henry, tell us a little bit about who you are, who you help, and what you do. I just had to give your group a plug because it's really good.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So, big picture, I am a big nerd. I came from pursuing mechanical engineering, and I've always just liked tearing things apart, figuring out how things work. But dropped out of college looking for a more creative outlet, and that's where I ran into marketing. And at that point, while I was going deep in, about a year in, my dad was looking to transition from his old concierge business and wanted to step into the speaking, coaching, event space and build out that kind of info business. And asked if I would be interested in taking a shot at building that with him. And so I did that. We built a rather successful brand and business for him called Steve D. Sims. And that's kind of what pulled me into the specific lane of personal branding and helping business owners create a personality, a presence around what they do to help them stand out against the competition and attract their perfect clients.
No, I love that. And you guys do that so well. So here's going to be my first question, because like we were talking about beforehand, a lot of people that listen to this are either sales professionals that still got to build a brand or
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, first-time business owners trying to establish it. How do you get a unique edge? Because there's so many voices. Like I'll use myself. I'm a sales coach. Do you know how many sales coaches there are out there? How do you help someone actually get a unique edge so that they can attract their ideal client?
The it is Personal branding is kind of tricky because with marketing, it's like, okay, we design some ads, we utilize some copywriting frameworks, and we push that out there. Personal branding goes inward a lot, and you're trying to unravel you as a person and understand how to harness that so that you can position it in your ads and in your other materials. And the first thing to notice is we try to model success, and so we look at what kind of trends are going out on social media, and we look at people who are speaking on stage, and we kind of, without realizing it, we start to pull pieces from all of them and step further away from who we are. So the first thing to do is take a step back and even just write down on a piece of paper who you think you are. And there's a framework diving right into it that I found really valuable about halfway through working with my dad and trying to build his brand called the character diamond. And it's a framework that screenwriters use to design characters for shows and movies because the story arcs and the plots of a lot of the movies we see aren't different, but the characters within them are, and
Mhm.
that's what pulls us more. And so in this character diamond, you've got four traits. You've got the primary trait, and this is what is most obvious about you, what people admire about you, what stands out immediately. And so for all of us who are in business, that's going to be your expertise. It's what you bring to the table. People come to you for that value
Mhm.
exchange. So that's very easy to kind of understand. But then also it's how you present yourself. So how you dress, how you communicate. You look at Alex Hermosi, and everyone knows that that guy's in a hat and a tank top, some
Yep.
shorts and sandals. Then you look at someone like Dan Martell, and he's always wearing his blue T-shirt. So like that visual does make its way forward. And then there's other professionals who prefer to be very formally dressed in a suit or a dress or something along those lines. So, how we present ourselves and what people admire, that's the first part that we look at. And you can ask clients, you can ask colleagues, you can ask friends and family what they admire about you, what stands out. And you'd be surprised that even across professional and personal domains, you'll get a lot of the similar answers. And for me, it was the fact that I'm very nerdy. I
Mhm.
love details. I love looking into how things work. And so that's why people come to me. And I heard that both personally and professionally. The second part of that character diamond to see how you want to position yourself is looking at the contrary trait, the contrasting trait. And this creates interest in your character. So when we just focus on pushing out value, it gets flat.
Hmm.
So then if we look at, okay, what's something someone might be interested to find out about me once they get to know me, that creates some interest and it pulls people in a little bit more. For me, I'm obviously this marketing and branding nerd first and foremost, but when you get to know me a little bit more and some of the posts that I put on social media, you'll see that I'm also an adrenaline junkie.
Hmm.
So I love one, I love listening to heavy metal music. Two, I've raced motorcycles since I was 9 years old. So I've hit 100-foot jumps and raced over 170 miles an hour. And that is a very polar opposite type of energy that I bring to the table. So that's an interesting thing that pulls people in, and we can also share some similar interests at the same time. The third part of this character diamond is your guiding star. This is also like your mission. What moves you? And the reason why we look at this is not to have the corporate mission statement that's just fluffy and sounds the same.
Hmm.
It's just to let people know what drives you so that they can trust how you show up and what you do. And so I love the example that Jason Fladlin, expert in webinars and offers, he shared that when it comes to webinars and you're pitching something and you say, hey, the offer closes Friday night. If you just stop there, people are going to go, why? Why are you doing that? Why are you closing it Friday night? Why not leave it till Monday? Why not just keep the cart open forever? But if you say, hey, the cart closes Friday night because a lot of work goes into this, and I want to know that I can wake up on Saturday morning and just relax for the weekend,
Hmm.
people will go, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so now there's this layer of trust associated with the action that you're taking. And so by us just sharing what drives us, it helps people be on our side. It helps bring the guard down. And recently there's a woman, Jessie Jean, who has gone viral for creating and launching this thing called the Yap Challenge. And she's just been sharing this whole time the reason that she's doing it, the reason why she works so hard is just to take care of her family.
Hmm.
And so she's very vocal that, hey, I'm here to make money. And it's because I want to be able to provide for my family and make sure that they've got a good life and that we don't have to struggle or take any, shortcuts in how we want to live and how I want to provide for them. And so now people are like, okay, I get that. And also I support that. So having that guiding star is very important to get people's trust, to get them a little bit more on your side, or just to take the guard down for what you do and share. And then last part of this character diamond is your quirk or your flaw. And we make the mistake of hiding this because it's uncomfortable to share any kind of imperfection. But the risk with not sharing it is that you put yourself on a pedestal that's unattainable.
Hmm.
And the whole point of showing up and trying to build brand is to invite people in and to create a connection between you and your ideal client. But if you put yourself up here as perfect and then the clientele's down here, you don't create that connection. And within sales, you want to build rapport
Hmm.
and be on their side, help them figure out whether or not this offer is right for them and gets them closer to their goals. But if you're absolutely perfect and you create this divide, you can't build that rapport. So if the first thing to answer your question about how do we, looping back around to that, how do we start to position ourselves online unique and different from others? That's one of the first things that I like to do is go through this character diamond and look at what do people admire about me? How do I stand out? What might they be interested to know about me once they get to know me? What's causing me to make all the actions that I make and get up in the morning? What's my guiding star? And then lastly, what are my quirks and flaws? What gets in my own way? What makes things harder for me that that I can share and create this normal human connection? And if you address those 4 points, you'll already start to look at how you're positioning yourself and see whether or not it's in alignment with that character that's true to you.
No, I love that. Actually, you're making me think of Baldur's Gate 3 because I am a video game nerd and creating the different characters in there. But I even see it doing it in my sales world. So, like when I'm doing a talk or when I'm talking to anyone, a lot of times I'll
Yep.
go to like one of my first ever times I presented. And I'm like, I'm selling gutters and I'm using a flip chart. And you know, you don't need to. Why? Because I want them to know I was at their spot. And then I always am putting out weird stuff that I do. I just mentioned Baldur's Gate 3. I golf. I end up doing little quirky things with pugs. Like I will do a video and not fix it on purpose just so that they can see the real side of me. So I love that aspect. I think and I want your thoughts on this because you've dealt with a lot of very high influential people. Is it because they're afraid to be seen, but the ones that seem to be successful don't care if they look silly? That's kind of what I see in the industry, but I want your
Mhm.
thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that is it. There, I think it was even Alex who shared a study where it was interviewing all of the most successful people in the world, and they all had the polarizing thoughts of they believed they were meant for more, but they had an equal doubt in whether or not they were worthy of it.
Hmm.
And so
Yep, yep.
we do all deal with these doubts or insecurities, and it's difficult to admit them. And so even for me, people know that I'm incredibly introverted. And so getting on camera and speaking is actually the toughest part of my work. I'm very happy behind the scenes working with the entrepreneur, pulling out their information and positioning it for others to see. But when I have to do that for myself, that's tough. That's
Hmm.
really tough. So I'll stutter here and there on videos, or they won't be perfect, but it's just part of the process. And I share that. And it's actually attracted clientele who also feel similar in
Hmm.
that they find it difficult to hit that record button. And so I can help share the things that have worked for me to push me onto camera and make it an easier process. And we have that common ground. But I do think it's just a matter of we do all deal with insecurities, and even the top of the top do. And
Hmm.
perhaps even more so when they're up there because the pressure's so high. So they hide it. But it does, once you start to see that it's one of the key pieces to connect with your audience, then they come around to it.
Hmm. Well,
But
you know what?
certainly the pressure increases as you get higher up. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's tougher to share that.
Well, and here's the funny thing that most people don't realize. I'm actually introverted. I can play the game and people don't realize that, but most of the best sales professionals and business leaders I know are very introverted. We're very
Yeah.
mechanical. My wife knows this. At the end of the day, I need time to myself. It's not that I don't love anyone. I make sure I take care of them and all, but at least I need an hour a day. If I'm at an event, I will literally shut down about 7, 8 o'clock. I don't know what it is. I've been around people long enough. It drains me. I'm done. And I have to go. And it
Yeah.
might be I'll watch a dumb show. I'll play video games. I might play on my phone. I might just do something. But I think it was this. And I think high achievers have a lot of issues with this. Learning to do things for themselves because we get our accolades and gratification from what we do. That's how we've always gotten love.
Mhm.
Most, not everyone, I can't put everyone back, but I'd say 90% of all high achievers I know are performance oriented. So doing things for yourself, I've learned actually helps me, but for the longest time I would feel guilty. Did you ever deal with that type
Yeah.
of thing?
Um, I I deal with it myself of having a like feeling guilty about taking breaks and not just working all the time. And it's that driver mentality that you spoke about. But knowing myself as this introverted person, I know that I have to step away. I know I have to get off camera, get off the calls, get away from the computer, and go do something totally different. I think
Mhm.
hobbies is one of the best things you can invest your time and money into, especially as an entrepreneur, to just disconnect entirely. And it's very difficult. It's why I am so drawn to racing
Mhm.
and adrenaline stuff because I can't really think about other things when I'm doing it.
Yep.
So it forces me to disconnect. And I always have known that when I go to the racetrack, time's up for the day if thoughts about work start creeping into my mind while I'm going around the track. because no longer the focus is there and the thoughts are coming back in. So I'm like, okay, can't do that. Time to pack it up, go back home and just relax. But
Mhm.
we definitely need to take that time to disconnect and do something totally different because then we come back with fresh perspective, we're recharged, and that's the difference, especially with the extrovert type, is being around people and talking energizes them. But for
Mhm.
the introvert, we have to step away and recharge. And that was something that a lot of people didn't know at first about my dad, but was what was involved in his character diamond was
Mhm.
there's this big, bold, sarcastic, loud character that's speaking on stages around the world, achieving these big things, very introverted.
Mhm.
And so every time that he would get off stage, we would run away from the event and go to a bar, go get some lunch, whatever it was, to just get away, disconnect, and just breathe.
Yeah.
And he needed that. He could not be go, go, go like his stage presence was full time. So, but it goes to your point of saying that introverts do have an advantage because they're very methodical about what they do. If they're going to get on stage, there's a reason to it. They're trying to share a particular message. They're trying to create a certain change for an audience. It's not just for the fun of going up on stage, which is why introverts do typically have really good businesses and deliver good messages because they think about it prior to stepping into the spotlight.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think you know what it is. I think everyone thinks that if someone's energetic, can deliver a message, can be talkative, can connect and do all that, that they're an extrovert. Like everyone
Yeah.
used to always say, I'm like, no, dude, I'm not. I have to. And if I don't, it goes bad because it goes from me being really engaged to me being really angry and annoyed and I can't deal with
Yes.
people and like literally shutting down. Like I've done that before. Like if I get into a big crowd and I'm not having something I have to do, I like that sensory overload is just a little bit too much for me. So I
Yeah.
get that. And but I
Yeah,
think
definitely.
also though when you're building something online or if you're going to a stage or an event, you can prepare yourself for that aspect. Like I post a ton of videos, but what most people don't realize is I batch them on purpose.
Hmm.
I'll go for a walk. I'll do 5, 6 videos on a walk. So I know that I have the rest of the day. I don't have to do anything because I can just 2 hours from now, 2 hours from now, 2 hours from now. Are there any other tricks or tips that you can give our listeners on that type of stuff, especially for the person that maybe they're still working a job, building a business, having the family, and they're trying to build their brand, but they're having the pressure or stress of trying to keep up?
Yeah, there's hustle culture is so prominent on what we see online that we think that we have to be coming up with ideas, creating content 24/7, and just this constant hamster wheel of showing up. But I'm with you. Batching is incredibly important. And typically, the recording part is the easiest part in terms of time commitment. Everything else before that and after that of research and listening to the audience, seeing what trends are happening, see what shifts in your market's happening, coming up with those ideas that you want to share, that's the first big load involved in this process of showing up. Then you've got the little window where you're filming it,
Hmm.
and then it's editing and publishing and analysis. And so the filming window is actually very small, but people freak out about that because they leave the ideation part within that filming window. And so I like to bookend my weeks, like Mondays and Fridays are typically my days for content work because I want to be able to usually it's like a Monday that I'm doing more of the filming for myself. And then Fridays at the end of the week, I get to sit down and finish it by looking at what happened this week, what changes have occurred, and I can start writing and coming up with ideas, looking at other um, what is it, content creators that I gain inspiration from, and just look at what's going on. And I come up with my ideas. I give myself that session to just brainstorm so that then Monday, when I get to the computer and I look at the camera, it's much easier for me to go, okay, cool. Here's what we're talking about. Record, go, done. send it off to the editor, and
Hmm.
that's it. So I like to split the work because being creative is difficult. So if you can just take that window and dedicate it to either just your filming or just your brainstorming, I think that makes it easier on you and relieves the pressure of I have to come up with an idea, script it, film it, and edit it all in one block.
Yeah.
That's exhausting. So that would be my thing is when I work with folks, I know they're busy. And I also know the work that goes into creating content, especially if someone's introverted like me, they're going to be tired after it as well. So we usually will operate on a 2 or a 4 week rotation where every couple weeks is when they sit down to record.
Hmm.
Or if they just want to do it once a month, we'll set like a half day or a day towards recording, and then they don't have to worry about it until the following month. And in between that time, we're researching, we're coming up with ideas, we're writing out the scripts, so that when that day and that film time comes back around, just record, and it's done. So I that's how I approach it is don't come up unless something is more timely and not as formal. Yesterday, Manus, I shared a video because it's been sharing that they're going to be splitting with Meta. The acquisition deal is not going through, so all of the users for Manus have to back up their data and save it so that during this kind of deletion process and reset, they can then upload their data and resume their work with the platform. So that's a quick, easy update. So I just shot a quick update,
Hmm.
didn't do any editing, just chucked captions on there and posted it. So you could certainly do that. But if you're trying to implement a more consistent, higher production quality editing style to position yourself at that kind of level, then I would certainly batch it to where you're kind of recording every couple weeks or even each week, but don't be on this pressure wheel of I have to come up with an idea now, film it, edit it, post it, and then 2 hours later do the exact same thing. It'll exhaust you, and you're not a content creator, you're an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
So content is a piece of your job. It is not your job. You don't make money because of views. You make money because you're bringing that content to the right client, and it helps as a conversion mechanism to build business and generate money. But content creators, they're in the game of views is money.
Hmm.
So it's a different model that we're attacking.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% because the more I think about it, and I have a follow-up question, but I do want to go on that because I have
Yeah.
friends online that are content creators. Like, you need to post 10 a day, you need to do this and this and this and this and get views. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, I could do that, but Facebook's gonna give me 32 bucks. If I get one client to come in, that could be 2 to 5 grand or more. And I'd
Yep.
rather have 100 views to my ideal client compared to, and I'm not saying I don't want to go over. I've had videos go 42,000 views. It was great for my podcast. On average, they
Yeah.
do, I don't know, 500, which is fine. Like, but for what I'm doing, it works. How important is the editing aspect of it though? Because I am a little bit more different. I like the creating part. I hate editing. Unless there's
Yeah.
something really there that I don't want to deal with, I just will film it, go, and just throw it out there. But I'm also not a perfectionist. So I'm on the opposite spectrum of I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are like very much stuck on it has to be perfect. And I think
Hmm.
it just has to be impactful. That's my
Yeah.
thoughts. What are your thoughts on that?
You can find an example of success in every area. There's people who have done no editing whatsoever and they're successful. And then there's the opposite side where they have the largest production teams. They go all in, they're spending hundreds of $1,000s on their content output and they're successful. So, there's examples of everything. Editing is helpful because depending on how well you can articulate your thoughts and the pace in which you deliver, and maybe the topic you're talking about, business tends to be far more boring than the prank videos out there and
Yep.
cooking videos and stuff like that. So editing might support the entertainment aspect to keep a view.
Hmm.
And so that's how I look at it is trying to just look at all the variables available to you, editing being one of them, and then test everything to see what resonates with your audience. Because there's certainly going to be the section of audience who love really high energy, high production quality content. And then there's going to be the other side where they just want something more casual, informal, that they can just sit and consume at more of their energy level.
Hmm.
So the way that I look at editing is more so about, at a minimum, cutting out the gaps and just moving the pacing along and making sure that the story's constantly delivering. If it's a longer form video, that's more important.
Hmm.
And especially if you end up being repetitive within it, that's an area in which someone has an excuse to drop off.
Right.
So I would rather just cut that block out of the video and keep the story moving forward and keep the retention high. So that's how I approach editing and design and all of this kind of stuff, is look at all the variables available to you and then try and enhance it for your audience. So I've gone both ways. I've done really high production stuff and then I've done low production. I've seen both of them work,
Hmm.
and same with clients. But with editing, I think at a bare minimum, look at just the ability to cut out mistakes or prolonged gaps or repetitive elements in what you're doing. That's the bare minimum to keep the story moving forward. And then depending on your industry and also depending on how well you deliver, maybe then bringing in visuals to enhance the storytelling aspect and keeping people on board based on what you're talking about.
Hmm. No, I love that because I think about different settings. Like my walking videos are more my casual. You're just
Yeah.
getting a walk with Joe and you're getting thoughts. If I'm sitting in my office, it's a lot more. Actually will edit it or do a little bit more with it. Or if I'm sitting in my cars, those seem to be more intentional videos. And then of course I do podcasts all the time. So long form, and I have an AI that helps me cut it up, and then I had to fix it because sometimes AI thinks something makes sense, and you're like, that makes no sense at all. Why did you cut that?
Yes.
Um, but when it comes down to it, I want to talk about like real shorts and stuff because people's attention spans are so small. So I think that's your window to pull people in to your long
Hmm.
form, at least in my mindset. So when I'm doing content, this is just how my mind works. I do a bunch of reels. Typically, I'll do some that are 15 seconds, some that are 30. The max is a minute for a reel, short,
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it. I would do short form content that asks questions. My biggest platform is still Facebook. And then I do long form content either in video or like writing, like deep diving. But the people that read my long form either came in from my questions or came in from my reels. That's kind of been what I see I guess, content funnel I use. Is
Yep.
that like the typical way people should do that? I know there's no rules, but like
Yeah.
you see successful people, you could try to just wave a flag online and dance around. You might get some views every once in a while, but you're not going to do anything. But how
Yeah.
do people, what do you recommend? Is there a ratio that people should be doing, like 2 to 1, 3 to 1, or does it depend on the industry and the voice?
Um, it does partly depend on the industry. Like if you're an e-commerce brand and you're looking to just sell low ticket products and their impulse buys and such, short form is probably the low hanging fruit of your
Hmm.
ability to get more views quicker and to an audience that that piece of content, being that it just randomly shows up in the feed, is more of an impulse buy. But then if you're someone who's selling higher ticket things, services and coaching and stuff like that, then you need to build more trust with that individual to get the sale. And so the short form could be that first glimpse, that first touch point, or it could be an ad, or it could be you speaking on stage.
Hmm.
But from that point, I think YouTube long form is one of the highest leverage content formats that you could dedicate time to, because if you're going to fight for a view, the YouTube long form is going to go longer on that
Hmm.
view and building that trust and connection with that individual than that 30-second short will. And so what I've seen is a lot of people will get a lead in, and then before a sales call, they're sending them YouTube videos. And so that person, instead of just binging a bunch of shorts, hopefully, that we don't even know if that's the case because it's so distracting, the platform.
Hmm.
And it also reaches out to new audience members so much that even your followers hardly see your short stuff.
Right.
But YouTube has a more loyal follower base, or even if you've seen something and you've watched a lot of it, they'll recommend that creator again. I've seen more frequently, but that's what I'm seeing is people will use that first touch point of like a short form video or an ad or speaking, something like that. But then their email and their YouTube are the conversion mechanism to build that trust forward before the sales call happens. And so, I've got a chiropractor that I'm working with on YouTube. Obviously, you want to trust that someone who's cracking around your bones knows what they're
Hmm.
doing.
Yep.
And so we've been making videos about here's how to help with this, here's how to relieve this pain, blah, blah, blah. And he's been getting calls from out of state about getting his help because they valued what he gave in the video.
Hmm.
And so I just think it's not one or the other, but when you look about how much trust you need to build for your particular offer, shorts could be enough if it's that impulsive buy. Typically, on coaching and agencies and other service providers, you'll want a longer form element brought into your strategy, and you can push that long form in front of those leads through your emails, through text, whatever else it is, to make sure or help them consume it before you get to that buying point.
Yeah, no, I love that. And thinking about it now, how you formatted that, when I'm on YouTube, it dials in what I'm looking at. Remember, I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned Baldur's Gate 3. I watched a Baldur's Gate 3 reel, just a short thing. It's like, oh, I'm into it, whatever. And I was wasting time. And then the next time pulled up YouTube, I had like 8 videos on. You should equip your person this way. And I'm just using something simple, but it's the same thing with sales. Here's another question to have because I know you're more the marketing expert. I'm a sales guy, but like
Mm-hmm.
marketing wise, I literally will go to people that I know are better than me or have a bigger following or whatever in my industry and see what type of reels and stuff they're doing, not
Mm-hmm.
to mimic their personality or their concept, but sometimes I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't think about doing a carousel. Maybe I'll try that. I didn't think about doing an overcoming the objection video. Maybe I'll try that. Do you recommend that to your clients, or do you think that kind of foggies up what they're trying to position in their brand? How do they balance that?
As inspiration, like you said, if you're going and you're just copying, there's no reason to it. And again, that person might have a different funnel to how they
Hmm.
acquire business, so their content strategy might be different. But I think it's good to, and I even look outside. I love watching Mr. Beast.
Hmm.
Why? Because he's got so much more data than every other creator on what gathers attention.
Yeah.
And so I look at him and I just scour through his pages regularly, looking at his thumbnails, looking at his titles, watching the intros to his videos, and seeing what kind of formatting and best practices is he using to get a click and to keep someone's attention. And then I can try and transition some of those formatting elements into the way that we design thumbnails within our business videos or our
Hmm.
titles, or the way that we do an intro, how long the intro is. Though we can take inspiration from a direct competitor within our industry, but we can also find inspiration of what works outside of it. And oftentimes, those actually help you stand out even more because you're not just following the same thing that's happening over and over in your industry. So I certainly look at it for inspiration of what are other people doing to see what I might not see, but then to also see how the audiences react. So if you see a YouTube video within your industry and you see that the view count is multiple higher outside of their subscriber base, it means that not only did it do well with their audience, but it performed well outside of it. And a
Hmm.
lot of people will have a certain amount of subscribers, and then their videos are a small pocket within that subscriber base and perform well there because their audience know and like them. But there might be a packaging problem that doesn't resonate with cold traffic outside of that audience. But if you see that the views reached outside of that subscriber base, you know, huh, this is a topic, and the way they package this topic is something that's interesting to more than just their own followers, but to a wider group. So maybe I should make a video on this topic and it would outperform my immediate circle and reach other people like that as well. So that's how I look at it is formatting and topic demand
Mhm.
rather than just trying to copy and follow along with somebody else.
Yeah. Well, and how important are hooks? Because like I know sometimes I'll try my own, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I've seen the Facebook, TikTok use these 10 hooks. And anytime I've tried to use the hooks, it's because it's not as natural for me. Like it works, but it doesn't work as well. How important are the hooks compared to being authentic to you?
Oh man. Well, I would say you can't have one or the other. It's a mixture of both. But at the same time, you could do you could execute just as well or better than something that took off. There's still no guarantee that your piece will take off.
Right.
And that's the tough part about this game is, I've seen YouTube videos that I've made and that clients have made, friends have made that have done absolutely nothing for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then just taken off
Hmm.
with no changes whatsoever. And it could be very easy to look at that piece of content and go, well, that didn't work. I followed what everyone said. I did the best practices. I thought this was a good idea. And you would think it lost. But there's so much competition on these platforms that you just don't know when it will take off. So to the point of a hook is important, but a hook can be visual, like you said, walking outside versus being in your car versus being in your audience. Those are three different elements, variables that could grab someone's attention better than the other.
Hmm.
I had a friend who they found that when they posted videos of them driving around in their car on LinkedIn, it just outperformed everything else they did, even saying the same thing. So they just made a point that every day they would close the computer down, hop in their car, they would loop around the block
Hmm.
and just loop around the block, recording their videos, pull back into their driveway and post that content because that alone, that visual change was
Hmm.
the hook that resonated on LinkedIn to their audience. So a hook is important, but we might not know quite what that hook is, whether it's verbal or visual or whatever. You don't know until you try it. And I just think you're constantly stacking the deck in your favor
Hmm.
rather than having a guaranteed um, tactic that'll work for you. There's
Hmm.
plenty of stuff that I'm sure there's tons of things that you've got that if you posted them again could work way better
Yeah.
just because of timing.
Hmm. Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. Repurposing. So what I've learned to
Mhm.
do, I got this from Tony Watley, so I'm going to always throw credit where it comes in.
Yeah.
I'll get my Facebook stories because that seems to, like they give you the memories, whatever. I'll just throw a comment on that memory, and then that post might blow up even more. I'm not going to get my $34 for the dog food, which is fine. That's Facebook pays you whatever, 34.72. It randomly gives me a number. Um, but like I've gotten more people from that, or even going back and taking it and then throwing it into my AI of choice. I use Claude, I use ChatGPT, I even use Copilot. I just whatever mood I'm in, I have it repurpose it or put in my voice and use it. How important is that? Especially, is that even something you would recommend? Like I do it
Yeah.
because sometimes I'm like, I've been producing content for, I don't know, 5, 6 years. There's stuff I've said that my audience now has never heard because I said it 3 years ago. I didn't even remember it. Um, but you said this, like on YouTube, I know this happens. I don't know if it happens on their platforms. Does YouTube just resend your content out later on, or do people just find it through their searches? Because I've had videos I put up and like, oh, this is not anything big. A month later, nothing there. Then I go back and it's got 300 or 400 views. Like, wait a minute. When I looked at this last time and I posted this 8 months ago, it got like 10 views. I thought it was crap. And now I got like, and not that 318 is huge, but compared to 10, like I'm just thinking of one video I just looked at recently. I'm like, so how does that work? Can you like, I don't know if the word is trick or re-engage it how does YouTube pick it up again?
Yeah. So, like you said with Facebook, the engagement does a lot to resurface things. And the more people engage with things, the further it goes. So that has been a strategy I've been seeing a lot is people just making a comment on a memory that popped up ages
Mhm.
ago. And so my feed will have things where it's 2024 that they posted this. And it's crazy to see it resurface so quickly and easily. With YouTube, on that point of 6 months down the road that it just resurfaces, it's it's the change in algorithm again, going from that you have to follow someone for it to be served to you kind of thing to now we're in an interest based algorithm where if there's a demand for a topic and more
Mm,
people are looking for something, YouTube knows where it is and they'll pull it out of their catalog basically. So they know their inventory and they'll pull it and resurface it if the demand is there for it. So that's one part to it. You could have a story where you're talking about a particular notable figure. And then maybe next year there's some media outlash about this particular person and your video could get picked up,
mhm,
right? Because all of a sudden this influx in demand has appeared. YouTube knows what you were talking about in this video, knows it's relevant, and will resurface it. You can also go back, and I do this so regularly, is you can go back and look at videos that you made early on and go, this was good, but man, I didn't know what I was doing with thumbnails at that point. And
mhm.
you can change out and update the thumbnail and the title, and then that will it's not guaranteed that like tomorrow it'll bump it out there, but oftentimes I've seen that when you do that, it gives it another chance of life. And
Nice.
so you can go back, you can optimize your thumbnails and your titles of old videos where the content's good. You might even be able to look in your analytics and see that, hey, my average watch time or view duration was really solid here, but my click rate was zero point 0.5 or 1%. And so, I definitely need to get that click up. So you change the thumbnail, you change the title, and then if your click rate comes up, YouTube will go, oh, people are interested in this, and it will start to push it again. So
Mhm.
you can go back, you can look at the stats, see that something had good view duration, but just not enough clicks to really let it go. Make some changes, and it might resurface it. There's another one that people have been doing where if you've got a actually, let's say this, one of the big mistakes within YouTube videos and content in general is just introducing yourself when you get on video. You
Mhm.
you hit record and you go, "Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Henry Sims." I've wasted 5 seconds,
Yep.
and
Yep.
those people have bounced and gone elsewhere. It's a bad signal to YouTube. They don't push your content anymore. Game over. But there's an awesome feature which not a lot of people know about where you can go into YouTube Studio, hit edit on that video, and just trim out the intro entirely.
Mm,
Cut it out, publish it. It will be permanent, okay? But you can cut out that intro, but at least then when people click on your video, it starts with the meat and potatoes. It just gets right to it. And so now you're able to see if people like the content or if
mhm.
they bounced because of your intro. And that's another way that you can optimize it. Even just a video of mine, I noticed, the intro probably was dragging a little bit. So I cut some out of it and I saw an uptick the following day on viewership because people were sticking around longer. They weren't bouncing as soon. So yeah, that's another one. If you go into your videos and you see there's this massive drop on the intro of your video in that first 30 seconds, if you're introducing yourself and if you're not getting to the point, just cut the intro and
Mhm.
republish it, and that would help resurface the video as well.
Well, and here comes a weird question because I'm a podcaster. So in every episode, it's always got that. It's a short intro, but I have an intro. I had it when I had the
Yeah.
150K, like we were talking about, and I have it now. Have you noticed, like I know a lot of podcasts I click on YouTube now have it to where they have a little clip in the front, then it
Hmm.
goes into the intro. Is that
Yeah.
like a strategy you suggest as well, or
Yes. Yeah. So the like if you look at Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett, like he's one of the top examples of how you can position your podcast. When you start watching his podcast, it is a sequence of some of the top questions, statements, and moments from within the podcast. And it gets tied together to build this intensity and this intrigue for what's to come,
Mm,
so that as the podcast ramps up, because naturally it has to ramp up. But if you haven't built the desire to get to the meat and potatoes beforehand, it's a potential for someone to drop off.
mhm,
So going through your podcast and having to kind of guess as to which moments were most capturing and intriguing, position and tease them at the front to help enhance and build that desire to get to it and move people deeper into watching that podcast episode or that video. That's certainly a fantastic strategy you can use. Otherwise, you can just get straight into it. I've seen
mhm,
some podcasters who they haven't even bothered with having an introduction. They are well established,
mhm.
so, their audience is there, but they just go straight into the first question with their guest, and they've cut out all of the talk or introduction beforehand so that people are immediately in it. It's like when you watch a movie and it starts partway into the storyline
Mhm.
and you're like, what's going on here? And you're intrigued, you're watching what's happening, and it's like, oh gosh, we're already in it, and you're trying to get up to speed. And then the movie cuts back to the beginning
Mm.
and
Yep.
brings you back up. But it starts there because it's in the drama. So that's another way you can do it. So if you do have episodes of your podcast where you've got these big intros and maybe they're even generic intros, like you had these songs and voiceovers made to introduce the show and you put that at the beginning,
Mhm.
it's not unique to the podcast. So that could be an opportunity where you
Mm.
just go back and cut that out of your YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And that could already enhance the intro retention for all of them. So that's the thing is like trying to get the buy-in for the natural ramp up period of a podcast discussion.
No, I love that because I didn't do it when I shifted it to the Joseph Graham show, but when I was doing the 150K podcast, and like I told you, I've done like 290 episodes. I paid a guy, great friend of mine, to do a voiceover for the beginning of it, and then the thing at the end. And then I didn't like the end, so I cut the end out. But I like probably on 100 of the 290 episodes, there's that intro. I'm going to go back and I'm going to
Yeah.
cut that off and just see, or just maybe do it on a couple to start and just see, hey, because it's like anything, it's always tweaking, testing, figuring out
Yeah.
what's working for you. Because what worked for me 5 years ago doesn't work now. Like when I
Yeah.
did this 5 years ago, I had a gamer headset on. I didn't have a nice camera like I do now. I had a HP computer camera. That's why I tell people
Yeah.
just start podcasting. In fact, with your dad, the gamer headset died in the middle of the episode. I literally had to rip it off, yell to my family, "Don't talk, I'm on," and and then do it from the computer video because it literally had died. But I'm just sitting here going, that would be a fun if I would have saved that clip instead of pausing it. That would have been brilliant because you don't think about it at
Yeah.
the time, but just thinking about just different ways to stand out. Because like I listen to Julian Dorn, he's a podcaster on
Mhm.
YouTube, and he does the same thing. I don't know what his intro is. I don't think he has an intro. It just goes into a couple of the stories or questions, and then into no, it does. That's what it is. It will do the stories in the beginning like the interesting question, the hook, and then he'll go, oh, by the way, this is Henry Sims, and you're here for blah, 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 and then right back into it. It's like I've done this so much I didn't think about it till you just mentioned it right now. Because it's like this is why you need people like Henry to help you. Because like I've been podcasting, have a good podcast, and it didn't even click in my head. Maybe they're dropping off because I'm doing the same thing over and over, and people are getting bored. I mean, that's a crazy thing there. Let's segue here.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? We're not done, but I always like to,
Yeah.
since you just gave a bunch of value, where can people find you and work with you?
If you head to henrysims.com, you can find me there and you can schedule a call for us to chat. It's very simple, straightforward.
Awesome. No, I love that. So I know we talked about a lot of different aspects of connecting, branding, marketing, getting your ideal client, making your own actual brand standing out. Is there anything, because I know you've been doing this for a long time and you are this is the part people don't realize. The behind the scenes people like you are the most important because people out there talking and doing their brand and all their stuff. Yeah, that's great. But it's the people like you that actually understand why and the how behind. Is there anything we've missed in this talk that you wanted to leave our listeners with?
Um, I think we've been covering the main basis of how you approach this. People look at the fact that AI is creating a bunch of content and that there's just too much going out there for you to be able to compete. It's just a very different time now. The algorithm has changed. So if you have a small following, that's not a problem. It knows what you're talking about, so it can serve it to the pocket of people who want to see it. So that's the first thing to know. Like this isn't you're too late to the game. There's actually a new opportunity that's come about now because of the way that the algorithm has matured. But then secondly, there's more of a desire for human-led content, for founder-led businesses because of all this AI stuff. We don't know if what we're seeing was our real thoughts. So the fact that you've got this podcast here where we get to have this unscripted, just casual conversation around something, people get to see you in your element. They get to hear about how you converse and what questions pop to mind. And that is such a huge support to someone who might want to work with you because they know how you already operate. And so if you're listening and you're thinking that it's too late, it's the perfect time. Like there's been a new door that has opened for you to stand out in your market, no matter how big or small that is. Someone might decide to work with you just because they saw your face for those few minutes. Every business is competing on price, on turnaround time, on offer stack, on whatever it is, on reviews. But even then, sometimes we can't even trust that. But if we can at least see the individual behind it, understand how they operate, get an idea for their vibe, that trust, that gut feeling that we get to create there could go a whole lot further. And it could be your greatest asset moving forward to help you stand out and to continue to grow your business to the next level. So like I think that's the next thing that I just want to be able to leave you with is that you're not too late. There's actually a really awesome new opportunity right now to stand out and focus on inserting this layer of brand into your business.
Awesome. Henry, thank you for being on. And for all of you listening, reach out to Henry, pick his brain, set up a call because, again, he sees things that you may miss. I only bring on people I trust. And again, we were talking about the human element. This is how I get connected with CEOs and CFOs. I'm human with them. I send them things. I bring them donuts. I do different things that will make me stand out so that they know, hey, I'm not a robot. I'm actually authentic. So be you, be amazing. Share this episode. And until next time, take action. Don't just listen because the world needs your magic as well.